Welcome to the 3-day workshop 2025. It's our agency growth plan. I reached out to Josh. Well, I had our team reach out to Josh, and our game plan initially was to talk about, paid ads, lead generation, some sort of a widget tactic kind of a thing. But more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Josh Nelson's already doing a workshop in his community in mapping out a growth plan for 2025. So I thought, you know what? Why don't we bring that training into the high level community and the high level ecosystem? Josh is very generous with his information. If you don't know who Josh is, Josh has been doing this agency stuff for years, man. I want to say back when I was started, he was already a veteran back in like 2014, 2015. He was already a legend then. He's came to multiple mastermind and high level events, our summit a conference as well. He's done multiple 3-day workshop with me and others in the past, and Chase as well. And Josh, welcome back, man. You're a familiar face for all of us, but for those that don't know you, can you give us a quick 30-second rundown of who you are, your background a little bit, and just kind of help us just get started here?
Absolutely, Paulson. So yeah, man, thanks so much for having me. I run a digital marketing agency, first and foremost, plumbing and HVAC SEO, which we started back in 2011. Grew to 7 figures in the first 2 years, is doing about $7 million per year now. In addition to that, I run 7-Figure Agency, which is our coaching and mentorship program specifically for agencies looking to grow and scale to 7 figures, multiple 7 figures, and beyond.
Absolutely. How did you find out about High Level? I know it's been several years. How do you use High Level? What's your relationship with High Level? I know you're one of our top affiliates as well, and you have a big coaching program. There's a lot of cool things that you're working on.
So I was a big time Infusionsoft user back in the day. That's what we use for our internal marketing automation. And somebody mentioned High Level for agencies and the way that it worked, the way that the two-way text messaging integrated. It was like, okay, I got to at least give this a shot. And believe it or not, it was Sean Clark on a one-on-one Zoom session that showed me the system. It was like, look, this is what you can do. This is why this is going to be great. And I was like, hey, let's give it a whirl. And we made the transition to all of our marketing funnels and all of our marketing automation at Plumbing and HVAC SEO running through High Level. And then we started rolling it out for our clients, and it's core to our service offering. It's core to our client retention strategy. And now, of course, we encourage all of our members and set all of our members up with our High Level snapshot and how to attract clients in their agency using High Level as the foundation.
I love that. So let's get into the agenda for this 3-day workshop. I know some of you, this might be your first ever event with us ever. And I just want to, first of all, just welcome you. And this is something we do almost every single week. We have different formats of a 5-day challenge, 3-day workshop, 1-hour masterclass, 7-day marathons. We have all kinds of cool stuff that's happening in the community of High Level that you can just come in and get free education. And why does that matter to us? Because if we can level up the educational basis for entrepreneurs and agency owners alike, we elevate our community in a much better way. And that's really our focus. So Josh, tell us the agenda for the next 3 days and what we can expect over the next 3 days as we do the 2025 agency growth plan.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is really give you a framework that you could launch 2025 and make this either your best first year or your best year ever in your digital marketing agency. 3 days. Day one, today is going to be all around goals and targets. And maybe you've already set some goals, maybe you've set some targets, but we're going to help you put the KPIs behind that and get really clear. Here's what the year looks like. Here's how this breaks down by quarter. Here's how this breaks down by month. And in order to bring that into reality, what do we have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to hit those goals and hit those targets? So that's going to be today. We're going to go deep on really having a plan. And with a plan, you can execute, right? And so day two, we're going to unpack the 7-figure agency model, which is going to be, there's a lot of different ways to run your agency or to run your SaaS. We're going to walk you through what's worked for us here at 7-Figure Agency and the hundreds of members that we work with. And you can pick and choose, like, does this model work for you? But that's what we're going to go deep on that model on day two. And then day three is going to be all around your agency growth plan, right? Which is, all right, now I've got a goal. I've got a model that I'm going to operate from. What's the marketing plan? How do we get the strategy sessions? What are we doing on a daily basis? What are we doing on a monthly basis? And what are we doing on a quarterly basis to fill the calendar, to consistently land clients, to launch for those clients effectively, and to retain long term.
Absolutely. And if you're watching this, and maybe you're starting out brand new, maybe over Christmas you started your LLC or your S corp, and you're just in the early stages. Maybe you're in the early stages of your coaching journey as well. And I'll tell you, some of the stuff may be a bit, it may come off a bit intimidating, and that's never the intention. Josh is someone who's very structured and organized, so like he's very much a professional. So everything you do and everything you're learning from here, that you would learn from here, I want you to apply one or two small things to your business and just get 1% better. Don't feel like the need of like, oh man, I got to learn everything from these 3-day workshop and implement everything by Thursday. It's just not realistic. So make sure you are being fair to yourself as you learn. Get your notes out, get your, we'll make sure the slides are available to you. We'll make sure the resources are available to you. And if you are just watching this and don't have a high level account, you are going to need a high level account eventually as you launch your agency in the early stages. So, Josh, without any further ado, let's get started with day one and give some tokens of appreciation to Josh in the comments. I know he lost his voice. I know the scheduling was crazy. I know the kids were, keeping him busy on the holidays. So he still didn't make any excuses. He showed up. I'm just so grateful that we didn't have to reschedule or anything. So Josh, thank you again. As we get started, there's a lot of logistics here that you had to kind of get through to make this happen.
And it is my pleasure. And hopefully, you guys will all bear with me with the voice. This isn't how I always sound, but fortunately, it's strong enough that you can hear me and I can articulate what I'm trying to say. So, one question I'd love for you guys to do is just as we start thinking about 2025, if we could reflect for a moment on 2024. If you had to rate 2024 on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being it was terrible, 10 being it was amazing, it was a slam dunk, type that number into the chat. Again, chat is happening in the Facebook page. So I don't know if we could point people back to the high level Facebook page to chat in there, because I'd love to have two-way engagement as much as possible. Yes, perfect. We just dropped the link there. Let me
Yes.
know on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate 2024? 1 being it was terrible, you didn't hit any of the goals or targets. 10 being you crushed it, you exceeded your targets. I do see a couple of chats coming in. Jake saying it's a 1, JP saying a 9, Stephen a 6, Kimberly a 1. Amazing. Awareness precedes change, right? So you don't ever want to launch into a new year without spending a little bit of time reflecting on the previous year. And so we're gonna do a little bit of that today as well. But I just wanted to kind of get a sense in the community. All right, we're getting ranges from 1s to like 8s, 9s, and 10s. My objective is to help set you up, and Paulson and I's objective is to help set you up so that next year, 2025, you've got 365 days ahead of us. Let's make it a 10. Let's make this a year that you said, man, I set a goal, I put a plan in place, I took massive diligent action, and something you look back and feel proud and be like, man, that was a 10-year. Give me a yes in the comments if that's a good objective for this session. So we can look back on 2025 and feel proud of what we've accomplished. Okay,
Absolutely. I'm seeing a ton of yeses here.
awesome. So real quick, the other thing I'd like to know, kind of as we kick things off, let me know what kind of agency you run. And I know we've got SaaS, and if you're just pure SaaS, put SaaS in the comments. If you're a full service agency, like you're doing websites and SEO and pay-per-click, put that into the comments. Or if you're doing some like specific thing, maybe you just do SEO, or you just do Facebook ads, or you just do funnel design, let me know. This will help us get context and really make sure we gear this to match you and where you're at and kind of what you're looking to accomplish with this workshop. So let me know in the comments.
And on that note, if you're brand new, you can simply just say, "Hey, I am brand new." Raise your hand. Feel like, don't feel like anybody's going to judge you because you're starting out. Most of the crowd that come to a lot of our events online are brand new because they're trying to figure out a couple of steps. So, and also another thing is if you're a small business owner that are a bit more marketing savvy and you're thinking, okay, do I want to white label some high level SaaS for my industry or do some coaching or speaking? Like maybe you're interested in some marketing activities, but not a full blown agency just yet. Let us know as well. Hey, I'm an SMB, small business owner that has aspiring marketing ideas and offers. So all are welcome here.
Awesome. Yes, I'm looking at the chat. Terry's hybrid, JP's AI SaaS hybrid, Kathy's full service, Jennifer's blogging, social media. Amazing. I love to read all these off, but I do appreciate you guys engaging in the chat, and we're going to be watching the chat and answering questions. That's why this is live, right? So we can actually interact with you guys and meet you guys where you're at. So thanks so much for commenting, engaging, hitting the like button, and all of that fun stuff. So here's my promise for you. You're going to dedicate 3 days to this. My promise is I'm going to show you a plan that, if followed, will help you scale your agency to $1 million or more over the next 12 months. Or add an additional $1 million over the next 12 months if you're already at 7 figures. And I know some of you guys are already at 7 figures on today's call. That's the promise. If that sounds good, type "let's go," and we're going to get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a revenue claim, just so you know. These are extra unordinary results that we're talking about. And, these are case studies Josh has. We've had hundreds and hundreds of seven-figure agencies now. But, take it with a grain of salt. Our intention is to,
No income claims. Sorry, Paulson.
You're good. You're good. I'm just making sure our legal team's happy. And in reality of this, well, you come into a training like this, don't think someone who's, you know, seasoned and experienced like Josh, he will make it look easy because he's been doing this for 20 plus years. And I may tend to do the same thing, but there's a lot of hard work behind building an agency. And that's really, I just want to make sure that's transparent out there. Let's keep going.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. And so, like to Paulson's point, when I say a plan that, if followed, can get you to 7 figures over the next 12 to 24 months, that's not based on hype. That's not based on theory. My agency, personal agency, plumbing and HVAC SEO, we were able to grow to 7 figures in about a 2-year window of time. Caveat to that, before that, my first agency failed, right? I literally spent 4 years selling websites, hosting, bad model, bad pricing, bad marketing strategy, and didn't get past 10K. So when I say I grew to 7 figures in 2 years, reality is there's probably 10 years of trial, error, frustration, doing the wrong things in the wrong way. So yes, never compare somebody's current version to, like their 1.0 version when they first got started. With that said, this program has been, this strategy has been validated. As a matter of fact, we've got 137 members that I've personally worked with that we've been able to help to 7 figures and beyond. And so I asked Paulson about this. I want to check with you guys. Is it okay if we share some of those case studies and examples? So it's not just me talking about, theoretically how it works, but really showing you, like Jim Moline from Roofer Marketers, how they chose the roofing niche and grew to multiple 7 figures and had an exit. Or Austin Hauser, how he chose the painting niche, positioned himself as the expert, has grown to multiple 7 figures. Just like case studies, if it's okay with you, if we share some of those examples, not to talk about how great we are, but to kind of give you the confidence that this isn't just theory. Like, there's really people that were in a similar situation to you, implemented these strategies, and have had life-changing results. Just like case studies, I want to make sure we're all good on that front.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. No complaints, no qualms there. Again, this is based on a proven track record. So let's get into our 2025 agency growth plan. We do have a workbook that we're going to be driving with today. This isn't just going to be me speaking for 2 hours, right? Nobody wants to hear me and Tolson teach you for 2 hours. We want to make this practical. We want to make it actionable. We want you to make strategic decisions while we go. So just acknowledge this isn't going to be a teach session. This is going to be a workshop where you're doing things as we go. So plan for today specifically. This is the growth plan. That's the goals and the targets that we're working on. So we're going to make sure that you're laser focused. Here's where I want to get to by the end of the year. So we're going to write that down. We're going to break it down by quarter, and we're going to break it down by month. If all we did was that, you would get massive value from today's session and from the next 3 days. That's where we're going to start. From there, we're going to audit your business model. Because like I said, my first agency, Develicom, I worked for 4 years, never broke $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue, predominantly because I had the wrong model. And so what we're going to do is make sure that you've got the right model to operate from, and we're going to audit that model against, like, what are you doing now? What's the proven model that we're seeing other successful agencies follow, and find the gaps so that you're working from a strong foundation. going into the new year. So that's the plan for today. That's what we're going to be working on. Again, we're going to go deeper on specifics and actual planning and like strategy over the next 2 days. Couple of rules for engagement. Seems like we got a couple hundred of you guys on here, which is amazing. Thank you for being here. Thanks for giving your most valuable asset, which is what? Let me know in the comments, what is your most valuable asset? And while I wait for the comments to come in, I'm going to say it's your time, right? The one thing you're not going to get back is this couple of hours that you're spending. And so you're investing that here. You could be talking to prospects. You could be out playing with your kids. You could be out doing something fun. You've chosen to invest it here. So let's make sure we make the most of this time. Number one, be here now. You've got your Facebook tab open to comment. You've got your Zoom chat open. I'm going to ask you to open one other tab, which is going to be to like work through the worksheet. But let's give this our undivided attention, our undivided focus. Time is valuable. My time is valuable. Paulson's time is valuable. Let's put on the blinders and let's go in and let's do this work here. Number two is if you could put on your participant cap, right? There's two ways you can engage with these types of workshops. Way one is you've got me open over here and you've got 3 other tabs open and you're kind of passively listening, but you're also checking email and checking Slack and checking in with the team. That's not being an active participant. The other way would be you've got this tab open. You're listening. You've got a notepad where you're writing notes. And when I ask you to engage with me in the chat, you comment or you like or you say something in the comments the way you're engaging. But also when I ask you to do an exercise or to go do some work, you actually do the work. So just like participant, if you're okay, I'm going to give you 110%. I expect you to give me the same. If you participate in this process, I promise you're going to get more out of the next 2 days, 3 days, if you actively participate. Number 3, close out all distractions. Number 4, let's give this 100%. So those are the rules of engagement. We do have the workbook. Let's drop this into the link in Facebook as well as here on Zoom if we can. It's going to be your Google Doc planning sheet. So you can access that at sevenfigureagency.com/growth-plan-workbook, and it will open up a Google Doc.
And by the way, we also have a link that Jordan and our team, by the way, big shout out to Jordan. He runs our community team. He is a pivotal part of a lot of our, workshops and streaming and things that we do all the time. So appreciate you, Jordan. And in the description, you'll see that there's a link for Josh Nelson Resources. It's gohighlevel.com/Josh Nelson Resources. I believe within it, I'm opening it now. Inside of it, there is a doc. In that doc, there is workbook. Okay. So you should be able to get that link there as soon as we get started here. Okay.
And if I can share my screen, I'll make sure to show everyone how to interact with this.
Go for it. You should be able to share your screen now.
Yep, I got it. Yep. Share, and then this is the tab I want to share.
And by the way, JB, John Bermudez, he was supposed to host this workshop. He ended up having to travel to Florida. So my apologies for all JB fans. Hopefully you're okay with me as we spend the next 3 days together. So you might see some confusion on some graphics. That's because we had some last minute changes, but appreciate your patience, everybody. So yeah, the first link right there is the workbook that you see at the top. Yeah.
Yep. So if you click that, it's going to open it up. And then what you're going to want to do is go File, Make a Copy. So this is going to be an editable document. It's going to be your document that we're going to work with over the next 3 days. So be sure that you go to that link, or if you happen to be watching this after the fact, you don't have access to the link. That's just a redirect, Paulson. There's no opt-in or anything like that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yep. So give me a 1 in the comments once you've got the workbook open and you've made your copy, because I want to make sure you've got what you need in front of you. You will not be able to edit from this document directly. You have to go File, Make a Copy, rename it Your Agency 2025 Plan, and we can hit the ground running. See the comments here, how we're doing. 1. Okay. Keep an eye on the chat, because there's going to probably be people logging in late, asking for the link. So let's just add that a couple of times as needed, if we need to. Okay, cool. So we've got the planning worksheet open. Again, this is going to be a workshop process. The first thing I want to do before we start planning 2025, I won't belabor this point, but I want to spend a little bit reflecting on 2024 and kind of the lessons learned, the wins that we've accomplished, the things that we're proud of. And so in your workbook, if you just scroll down to reflect, that's on that very second page. I want you just to spend a quick sec in your workbook. What were your biggest wins or accomplishments for 2024? Maybe you signed up on high level. Maybe you mapped out your snapshot. Maybe you started prospecting. Maybe you grew to some revenue threshold. Maybe you published a book or you did a webinar. You did things. Maybe you hired an account manager, an operations director. Let me know in the chat and in your workbook, most proud for 2024.
Hey Josh, do you mind just zooming into maybe 125 on the top left corner right there instead of 100%? Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
125. Make this
And
large enough.
yeah, go to like 125.
Bam.
Yeah. Or maybe
Right here.
150. A little bit more.
Okay.
A little bit more. A little bit more.
How's
All
that?
right. That's better. That's better. And
All right.
same thing with the slides. If you don't mind, just yeah, make it bigger if yeah, or do that. But then okay, perfect. That works. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for letting me know.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's do some work. I know this is always awkward for Paulson and I, where we're asking you guys to do a little bit of work and we got to be calm and quiet. But the power is going to come from the reflection, not just from what you hear from us. And so, like, the last thing we want to do is hop into a new year, build a new plan without anchoring in the learnings from the year prior. All right, so hopefully we've got at least 2 to 3 things as we think back on last year that we're most proud of. The next thing is goals versus targets. Hopefully you set a goal. Maybe you didn't. If not, no, like no judgment. That's okay. But ideally, you set a goal in 2024 from your business, some revenue target, something you wanted to accomplish. How did you do? Like, one of the worst things you can do psychologically is to set a goal and then never check in and never even like say, hey, look, I either did it or I didn't, because you're telling your subconscious mind that's a waste of time, right? It's just like you can't have any confidence in the process if you don't check in. It's okay if you set a goal and you miss, as long as you go and you say, oh, you know what? The goal was to do this and I didn't, right? And you told yourself, okay, I didn't get it this time. Here's what I'm going to change. Here's what I'm going to adjust. Here's why it's going to be different in 2025 so that you can actually hold yourself accountable, so that you can actually get that outcome. So just a quick check-in. How did you do, right? And I asked you to do this before we really kick things off, but I'd love you to let me know in the comments, on track for the year, last year, off track, didn't hit it, you had a goal but didn't get there, or exceeded. Like, one of those 3 things is what happened throughout the course of the year. I'd love it if you light up the chat with one of those 3 things. Okay. Lessons. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but ideally there were some lessons learned, either things that worked really well that you want to keep doing, or things that you tried that just didn't work. They say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different outcome, right? So be clear on what those lessons were so that you can take them forward. And then I would really encourage you, if you didn't celebrate something in 2024, you're going to get more of what you celebrate. What you focus on expands. And so find at least one thing that you can say, hey, like, I got this done last year. I'm going to celebrate it so that we can draw more of that into our lives going into the new year. So if you haven't already, again, I don't want to belabor this. We could spend a lot of time here, but we got other things we want to cover. I did want to check in on the year. Let us know in the chat, like, what were the biggest wins, the things you were most excited about? And then we'll keep pressing forward. Actually, I'm going to move this to a separate tab. That way I'm not pulling it up right here. Let's see.
And by the way, it's totally okay if you didn't hit your goals.
Yeah.
And the intention here is to not talk about, not just make yourself feel bad that the goals weren't hit, but the structure of goal making or goal setting is the most important part. And then we can reverse engineer and figure out, okay, why didn't you hit the revenue goals, or why didn't you hit expansion goals with your staff, or why didn't you hit offer goals that you may have had where you want to expand your offers, or different markets that you wanted to tap into, or different industries. It's totally okay to raise your hand and say, you know what, man, I didn't hit the goals that I was hoping for, but here's the structure of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So good. All right, so we've spent a little bit of time reflecting on 2024. Now we can start to look at 2025, right? And again, the main thing we want to get done today is set those clear goals, set those clear targets, break them down by quarter, and then we're going to build an action plan around it. But before we can build a goal or set a realistic target, we got to make sure we've got the right model, right? Because if you're selling the wrong thing in the wrong way with the wrong packaging, just like I did in my first agency, you can wind up chasing your tail. And so I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this so that you can set the proper goals. And we're going to go deeper on this tomorrow. But really, there's 3 things we have to solve for in order to grow and scale our agency to 7-figure or multiple 7 figures. Number 1 is we have to have a process to land clients, right? We have to have a process to get new clients coming in and month out. And we're going to talk about that on day 3. We have to deliver results, right? As an agency or a SaaS, this isn't a cash grab, right? We're here to deliver a tangible, measurable result, a tangible, measurable outcome for our clients in exchange for payment, right? And so we want to make sure we're delivering results in a scalable way, right? And we're going to talk about how we choose the model and how we kind of build the team around it. But we have to actually deliver world-class results. And then number 3 is we have to retain long-term, right? One of the biggest struggles in this agency game is sometimes we land clients and we lose clients, and we land clients and we lose clients, and it feels like we're just on this treadmill where we're not really moving forward. And so we have to be very intentional. If we're going to get to 7 figures or multiple 7 figures, we have to be very intentional about how we craft the experience, how we engage with our clients, how we show the value so that we can retain at the highest level possible. And then ultimately, we've got to think about how we're going to scale, right? The systems, the procedures we're going to put in place, the way we're going to build the team, so we're not doing it all ourselves. Because I believe, and let me know if you agree, we're in this business, yes, to make more money, right? Put a $ in the chat if you want to make more money. That's one of the main reasons you started the agency, right? And I think a lot of us will say, yes, we want more money to drive the nicer car, to have the nicer house, to take care of our family, to put our kids in the better school, whatever it is. But we also started this business so that we can have more freedom, right? Most of us actually are more inspired by choosing how we're going to spend our time, having the freedom to spend the quality time with our family, with our friends, to take the travels, to take the adventures. So more money, more freedom, and a bigger impact, right? If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the very top is to know that we're actually having an impact on the clients that we serve, on the team that we hire, on their teams. And so as you think about your model, make sure that it's going to provide you money, but it's also going to provide you freedom, and it's going to drive the passion because you're having an impact on the world around you that's having a big ripple effect. Give me a yes if that's what you like in your agency. More money, more freedom, and a bigger impact. I think we all do. And I know I see a lot of $. I see a lot of freedoms coming in. So that's what I want to spend a little bit of time on, right? Is just making sure we've got the right model that can bring us to that eventuality, can bring us to that outcome. And so for me, it starts with a little bit of money math, right? We have to, if we want to build to 7 figures or add an additional 7 figures, there's a million ways we can charge for these services, right? You could charge $100 per month. If maybe you're just doing high-level SaaS, $100 per month. If you do the math, you're going to need about 830 clients paying you $100 per month to get to $83,000 a month, which is a run rate of 7 figures. Now, a little up from there, you could have 166 clients paying you $500 per month. You could have 83 clients paying you $1,000 per month. You could have 8 to 9 clients paying you $10K a month, or you could just have one client that pays you $83,000 per month, right? Lots of different ways to skin the cat. And I'll tell you, in my first agency, my math model was, I'm going to build a website for $1,500, and then I'm going to charge them $10 a month hosting fee. Like, that was literally the whole thing. And so I was out hustling and selling those websites, and I would sell 6 or 7 websites in a given month, which was not bad, right? Hey, that's not bad. But I never got beyond $10,000 a month. Now, when I went to Reach Local, I worked at Reach Local for a stint, the big pay-per-click management company. They were doing $500 million per year. And they had one thing that they sold. It was a monthly recurring service between $1,000 and $5,000 or more per month. And when I saw hundreds of sales reps across the country selling 5 to 7 clients every single month at that price point, my paradigm shifted. I was like, well, wait a minute. Rather than charging this one-time fee and this low monthly retainer, I need to add more value and charge a higher monthly fee. And through the evolution at Plumbing and HVAC SEO, our agency, we kind of found a sweet spot for us between $1,000 and $3,000 per month. What I found was that in any vertical, in any niche, there's a plethora of companies willing to pay in that range as long as you add the value and you're generating a tangible, measurable return on investment. The other thing I found that was very, very interesting was it takes almost as much energy to sell a $2,000 a month client as it did to sell a $500 a month client. And doing the money math, I would need 166 clients at 500 versus I could just have like 60 clients at $2,000 per month and be there. So just make sure you understand that money math. I want to pause, Paulson, and give you the opportunity to interject or to share your perspective on the kind of how you price these services. But I think this is fundamental to if you're going to get to seven figures eventually or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And those of you that are familiar with high level in general, a lot of you may even lean towards that 166 at $500 a month. There's pros and cons to it, right? So
Yeah.
when you do the SaaS model, idea is to create recurring subscription with the least amount of fulfillment. You can have an account manager in SaaS handling sometimes 80 customers because the setup is very assembly line like where you're doing traditional SEO and website and all that. Maybe an account manager could only handle 15, 20 customers because there's a lot of strategy involved, a lot of follow-up involved.
Yep.
But the key is to understand your fulfillment before you just slap on a price tag because your
Mm-hmm.
fulfillment is what actually breaks or makes your business. It's not necessarily how your offer is positioned because at the end of the day, your offer is your offer. They know they need to do something about marketing. So it's okay to lead with SaaS. It's okay to lead with, a consulting approach of $10,000 a month, but the key is the fulfillment. Do you really want to sell your time? Or do you want to create a machine that runs on its own with minimal touch points? Like you have to figure out the model that makes sense for you. In the world of high level, what makes sense and people are really attracted to is the hybrid SaaS model. Maybe you have 5 or 10 customers that's paying you $5,000 a month, and the rest of 150 are 297 a month, just untouched SaaS, right? There's a good balance there that we're seeing a lot of agencies do, but just mine and Josh's intention is to make sure you're aware of these business models.
Mm.
I will never tell you to do SaaS only, and Josh will never tell you to do marketing agency stuff only. There is a balance of both. Somebody's making money on all these different models. So
Mm-hmm.
the model is not the problem. It's usually the entrepreneur or how the offer's positioned or the fulfillment of it.
100%, Paulson. Thanks for interjecting and sharing that. I'm going to be sharing what we found works for seven-figure agency members and kind of what our model is. But I know there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, and so don't be dogmatic about it. Right? Figure out what's going to work for you and what your objectives are. And like Paulson said, there's lots of pros and cons depending upon how you structure this stuff. But the bottom line is, if we're trying to reverse engineer to seven figures or multiple seven figures, the reality is if you can land 5 clients per month and retain at $1,350 a month or higher, then you can grow to seven figures and beyond. So that's just the thing I want to have sink in is if you can go a little bit higher, right? Maybe add a little bit more value, be more confident in your offering. You only need 33 clients at $2,500 per month to have a seven-figure agency or to add an additional 7 figures per year. And so, that's one question I just want you to ponder is, can you land and retain 33 clients? Yes or no, right? And hopefully the answer is yes. Hopefully, like, yes, I can do that. I can get there. I can get there over time. And when it comes to what you're delivering in this price point, we're going to get into that tomorrow. We're going to talk about the program packaging and kind of how we package our service offering to justify the $2,500 price point, how high level is integral to that, right? Don't just do website. Don't just do SEO. Make sure you're adding enough value and you're leveraging marketing automation to become extremely sticky. And high level gives you a massive competitive advantage when doing that and being able to add that level of value and to justify that level for retention. So Cliff Notes version, right? Just here in my opinion and what I found to be best in terms of model, and I'll I'll come back to Paulson on this, but if I were to say, like, if you just did this, you put your blinders on and you focused on doing it this way, it's going to be a great proven path to seven figures and beyond. A couple of things. Number one is to target one particular niche, right? That's one particular industry. Running an agency, selling SaaS services, you can sell to anybody, right? But when you sell to one particular industry, you can become the expert. You can be the person people come to and they're like, wow, I see that you work with companies like mine. You've got proven results and you're a lot more magnetically attractive. The other side of that is you can systematize the delivery. You're not reinventing the wheel for every client. In my case, we work with plumbing and HVAC companies, right? We're positioned as an expert in that space. And when someone signs up, we're not trying to figure out what are the keywords, how do I structure the website, what do I put in my marketing follow-up campaigns. We've figured out in advance. And so we can get better and better every time we serve clients, and we can do it at scale, right? So that I can hand that off. I don't have to be involved in the delivery because we've got it figured out in advance. And so one niche, monthly recurring revenue as the primary mode, right? We can do website builds, we can do funnels, we can do, Facebook strategy campaigns. But what I found is if you come to the market with a growth program that's like, for this industry, this is what you need to be doing in order to grow, and we can do it for you, then you can sell a monthly retainer package to everybody, right? And not be on this oscillating scale of getting some money up front and then trying to find another client and hopping back and forth. So actually just selling monthly recurring to everybody that you sell, no one-off projects, no check payments, right? Set up your billing automation so it comes in every single month. And then I would like to say that the monthly ideally would be $1,000 or more. And I know there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, but if we're confident enough, there's people paying $10,000 a month for done-for-you digital marketing services. And a lot of times it's just your personal confidence in charging more. And so this would be my cliff notes of like the model fundamentals. I want to toss it back to Paulson to kind of share, his thoughts and perspective on this.
Yeah. So what's funny is what Josh just shared is exactly how I built my dental agency. So before High Level, I had my own agency. I had a dental agency. My second agency was an automotive. But what I agree with Josh on is it's much easier to be a magnet inside the market when you're focused on one thing. People will come to you. They're like, oh, this is the expert. Everybody will resonate and sing the same song about you across the board. So referrals are easier, your fulfillment is easier. But I often think about how I got to that dental decision. Like I didn't just overnight just decide, okay, let me go into dental. I struggled for about a year and a half trying to figure out how to niche down or where to niche down. So in our masterminds, Chase and I, and JB as well, we teach something, which is your launch strategy is often different than your scale strategy. So when it comes to scaling, I am 1000% in agreement with Josh on how to scale. Focus on one target. But some of you, it may take you a while to figure out that decision of where do I want to pin my flag and go all in. So for that phase of your business, it's totally okay to test out maybe two or three different local businesses until you get your case studies going. So I often tell people in the beginning, very, very beginning stage, you don't have to niche down so suddenly without really knowing enough about it. Test out four or five industries, maybe a garage replacement door folks, maybe kitchen remodeling, maybe med spa, maybe dentist, maybe automotive. Test out what you like, because if you cannot go to dinner with your client and enjoy that time, you're probably not going to do well in that industry, right? So that beginning stage, explore a little bit, but I'm with it. I'm with Josh on for the scaling of it. I'm with Josh on having one target, one offer, one thing, one delivery, one type of service, one type of response, one type of, movement in a market is how I look at it.
Love it, man. Yeah, good feedback. And yes, it's a little bit different when you're just trying to get that first 10K. Then once you've got 10K, you're in the niche, you've got that squared away, and you're looking to scale. So, just recognize that. But I really feel like if we've got the right model, a proven model, and we operate on that. We put the blinders on. We don't shift focus from 1 month into the next, 1 quarter to the next. Boom, that's how we get to where we want to go. And so I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds in your workbooks, that digital Google Doc on page 4. I want you to spend a little bit of time evaluating your current model. Are you in a niche or are you in multiple niches? What are you selling? Are you a la carte, or is it like a dialed in, here's what we sell, here's what's included? What's the monthly fee right now? Oftentimes, this is a good time of the year if you've been at this for quite some time to increase that monthly fee because you've got more value. Costs are going up in the market. And then how much project versus recurring are you doing? Let's just do a quick pause here, Paulson, to give the group an opportunity to do some work, right? You've heard me talk about the model. You've heard Paulson share kind of his perspective. This is for you to decide, right? Decisions need to be made right now. Either the model's perfect the way you've got it, or maybe there's a couple of tweaks you can make going into 2025. So that's on page 5 in your workbook. Just get into that, page 4 in the workbook. Just a couple of seconds on that.
As the comments are coming in, Josh, I want to zoom out for a quick second. And for those folks that are brand new in the world of entrepreneurship, can you share why it's important to make your changes in the beginning of the year? Like, I know a lot of franchises, they plan out their budgeting right before January, right? You don't, as a marketing agency, you don't want to change prices in the middle of August or May. Like, why is it important that these types of changes or new standards are created in the beginning of the year?
I just think that, if a lot of times we want to make ad hoc changes just at random. Well, let's increase the price. Let's add this to the program. Let's remove this. Let's go after this new vertical. You change too many things all at once and you lose that consistency, that predictability, and you lose the ability to isolate what the change was. Also, it's easier to communicate to your client base. Hey, look, we're new clients that you're signing on. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what the price is. I just think from a consistency standpoint, that's why.
Yeah, and then also you become unpredictable if you make a lot of changes in the middle of the year versus in the beginning. You're like, hey, 2025, we've got a lot of results, a lot of demand for what we're doing. We're going to focus in on delivering high quality service. So because of that, we have to change prices, or this is our new price, or this is our new offer. Those are changes easier to make in the beginning of the year. All right, a ton of comments coming in here.
Awesome. Good stuff. True for consistency and predictability. Josh, choosing a niche. Should it be an industry we've worked in the past? And can we speak well and understand the industry? If a lot of you guys have questions on niche selection, we could definitely go deeper on that tomorrow. Paulson, do you think we should carve out some time for niche selection and a niche selection brainstorm?
Yeah, maybe we could spend 5 or 10 minutes on it because there's multiple ways to have a focus. Some people do
Yeah.
size of business, some people do a certain market, some people do industries related stuff like,
Yep.
you're asking here. But yeah, let's keep going. By the way, the screen behind you is kind of hard to see the words. So if you want to share the model audit from your slides, it might be easier for folks to see. Um,
Yes,
the,
absolutely. Let me, I'll just hit the share screen button here.
okay, thank you so much, Josh.
Almost there. All right. So let me know in the chat here. Did I get the right? Am I sharing the right thing here?
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, you're good.
Let me know in the chat what change will you make to your model? And while we're doing that, and while you guys are typing that in the chat, I said I would share some examples of this in the real world. So good example of this is Alan Hillsberg. He runs an agency serving funeral home companies. And he was a generalist agency. He was just doing ad hoc websites and stuff like that. Couldn't get past 10K. Similar scenario to me. Latched onto this model, right? And it was like, we're going to sell to a specific industry. You choose funeral homes. I'm going to sell $1,000 a month or more, including websites and SEO and a couple different things, which we'll get into tomorrow. All the marketing automation stuff from high level. Just by putting the blinders on and being focused and having that higher monthly fee, he was able to scale to over $115,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and is continuing to grow and continuing to scale within that space. So I want to share a couple of concrete examples of this as we go. And I've heard industries from as obscure as funeral homes to decorative concrete to very specifically like law firms and painting companies. But the process works really, really well. Okay. So let me know in the comments what you're going to change in your model, and let's keep pressing forward. All right, it's better if I share from the screen like this,
Yeah,
Paulson.
this
Okay,
is easier. Yeah, thank you.
got it. All right, so let's get into goals and targets, right? And this is the meat and potatoes of what we're going to do today. It's the meat and potatoes of really setting that goal, setting that target that we want to put in place. There's a great training by Brian Tracy, and I know I'm dating myself a little bit now with Brian Tracy here, but he's got a book called The Ultimate Goal Setting Program, an amazing program. Really, it talks about the importance of goal setting and the power of goal setting. But there was one quote that really stuck with me, and that's that success is goals, all else is commentary. And so, as digital marketing agencies, we all like the shiny object, right? The new AI thing that's coming out, or new models, or new niches, or new ways to sell. And a lot of that is commentary, right? Really, the key thing is what you're doing right now. Where am I today? Where do I want to be at the end of the year? Calling your shot, writing it down, putting the blinders on, taking massive action to get there. And so this is super important, right? To the extent you don't have a goal, to the extent that you're not super clear on where you're going to get lost in commentary. You're going to be chasing your tail. You're going to be chasing the next shiny object. So success is goals, all else is commentary. There's also this famous study that Harvard did back in the 1970s. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard this. I know Paulson has probably heard it a dozen times. But at this time of year, I think it's important to reiterate, this is valuable. This is important. It needs to be done. So they interviewed the graduates back in 1979. And they said, hey, do you have written goals? Right? Have you written them down? 84% of the graduates, and we're talking about some of the smartest, the best and the brightest coming out of Harvard, 84% had no goal. Right? They were just going to graduate. They're going to go try and get a job somewhere, and they're going to let life take them where it's going to go. 13% had goals. Like, okay, this is something I want to accomplish, but it wasn't written down. And 3% had written goals with a clear action plan to accomplish. And what was interesting is the 13% that had the goals were earning on average twice as much as the other 84%. But even more staggering is that the 3% that had a goal, that wrote it down, and had a plan were earning as much as 10 times more than the other 97% combined. And so there's massive value in this process we're going to do over the next couple of days. We want to give you that 10x advantage because you're going to have the goal, you're going to have it written down, you're going to have some group accountability here in the high-level community, and you're going to build the plan not based on theory, but based on what's actually working for other agencies just like yours. So clear goals creates the wind in your sails. It creates the momentum. And the framework I'm going to suggest is have the written goals with a written plan, have a one-year goal, but it's very hard to stay tracked on for a year, right? It's very hard to say, hey, here's my goal for the year and remain focused on that for an entire year. What we want to do is break that down into quarters, right? In the corporate world, it's all Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. We encourage you to apply that to your agency, set the goal for a quarter, build the plan for that quarter, take massive action, and then build a new plan the next quarter and constantly revise, reiterate to try and push yourself to the big goal for the year, and then break it down by month, right? It's easy to keep your mind focused for a month. How many clients do we need this month? What is our marketing strategy? What's our retention strategy? What are we going to do this month to make sure we're on track for the quarter? But I'd say more important than all of that, and I think a lot of us probably set goals, a lot of us probably set targets, is you have to have a stop point, right? If you set a goal for the year and you're not stopping at the end of the quarter, you're not stopping at the end of the month to say, did we hit it? Are we on track? Are we off track? Adjust, then you're just wasting time, right? You're literally telling your subconscious mind, I'm going to set a goal, and whether I get there or not isn't important, right? So just type stop point if you'll commit this year to put a stop point at the end of the month, stop point at the end of the quarter, stop point at the end of the year to check in and to hold yourself accountable. And ideally, to celebrate when you accomplish the goal. Like if you set a goal for January, let's make sure we've got a little prize we're going to give ourselves, a nice dinner, a nice thing that we're going to get so that we can commemorate that accomplishment. You get more of what you celebrate. And first of all, we're going to pause and we're going to reflect. Second of all, we're going to actually do something to acknowledge that outcome. So that's the goal setting framework. Let's start with our starting point. And so I want you guys, again, we're in workshop mode now. I want you to pull up the workbook. If you don't have it yet, Paulson, if we could drop that link one more time in team, pull
Yes,
up the Google
absolutely.
Doc, and then
Yep.
on page 5,
Yep.
what's the current starting point?
Yep.
How much recurring revenue? How many clients do you have on retainer? How many SaaS clients do you have? Could be 0, could be 10, could be 100. I just want you to write down what the current reality is in the business today. This should only take a sec, but I want you guys to fill that in for me. Current starting point. And if you feel
But
so bold, oh, go ahead, Paulson.
I was gonna say, by the way, some of you that may, I'm just gonna be very realistic here, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'll tell you, if you have, let's say, 5 website projects, they that kind of doesn't count as a
0.
monthly recurring revenue. Don't
Yep.
fool yourself in a way by saying, okay, I'm gonna make 10 grand in January with 10 website projects. In February, that's not something you can build your business off of. Like you can't predict how to hire an account manager, an operations person, or put away money for taxes or whatever you got going on. So don't count your one-off projects, including consulting or maybe some of you that speak. Like this is just recurring revenue that you can predictably build a business around that we're talking about.
Yeah, man. Big clarification. We want the automatic build clients. And if it's none, then it's none. I got 0. You might have dozens of clients, but if they're not paying you a monthly fee, you literally have 0 recurring revenue. All right. So put that number in. If you feel so bold, let us know in the comments in Facebook. What's the MRR now? What's the current reality? Okay. So we've got the initial snapshot. Next thing I want to do is I want to walk you guys through our sales retention tracking sheet process, because it's one thing to put it on a Google Doc somewhere, but to really plot out your year and to plot out your month, plot out your quarter. This is something we typically reserve just for our members, but I consider everybody here in high level part of the 7-Figure Agency family as well. So we're going to share this with you guys. If you go to 7figureagency.com/tracking, there's no opt-in for this. This is just going to give you the Google Doc that you can make your own. I'm going to drop that into the chat here if that's okay. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
we put that in the resources or not.
I believe we did.
Okay.
If not, we
Resources,
could.
planning
Yeah,
worksheet. Yeah. So in
yeah.
resources, same thing. Click on that link and it's going to open you up the sales retention tracking sheet. So let's get this up. We're going to break down now that goal. We're going to get clear what the goal is. We're going to break it down and make it really clear on a tracking mechanism for you guys. Give me a 1 in the comments once you have this open. Again, you're going to need to go file, make a copy. So I see like, 50 or so of you in here. You won't be able to edit it until you go file, make a copy. It's really important that you have the ability to modify this. All right. Charlie's got it open. Sam's got it open. Okay, good. Not based on theory, but based on what's actually working. A little echo there. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to put on that very left column, and we're like at the goal setting worksheet. Hopefully, guys all have this open. This should make this very clear, very concise for you. What is your current MRR? That's the first thing. We're just going to fill in these 4 cells. What's the current MRR? Somebody want to play guinea pig with me? Put a number in. If not, I will just make up some numbers that I think make sense. All right, let's just do your current MRR. Let's say it's 10,000, right? Everyone go ahead and put what your number is there. And then where do you want to be by the end of the year, realistically? And I'll kind of help you reverse engineer what that number is, or like what a realistic way to approach it is. But ideally, the promise was to get you to 7 figures and no income claims, as Paulson said. But let's just say the goal is to get to 83,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Got some zeros, 120, 300. Okay. So we've got those 2 cells filled in. This is, where are you right now? Where do you want to be by the end of the year? Maybe 83,000 is high. Maybe it's 35,000 if you're coming from a 0 start. So you go 0 right now, but I want to get a 35,000 in monthly recurring revenue. The next thing you need to fill in is, what's the monthly fee you're going to charge? Are you going to sell $97 a month, $500 a month, $2,000 a month? This is going to help you figure out how many clients you need in order to make that goal a reality. Paulson, what do you think the average is in the high level community? If you just give me what do
I
you think?
think I think for folks that are seasoned, I would say they charge about 2,500 monthly.
Okay.
But folks that are starting out, I usually see a range of like 1,000 to 1,500.
Okay. Let's just say 1,500 for the sake of simplicity. You know what
Sure.
your number is, right? That's the number. What's your program package? Maybe you got a little higher, maybe you got a little bit lower, but put in what the average is that you sell a new client for. And then the final thing you're going to put in is your closing rate from an appointment with a prospect that you're having a sales call with to them saying yes and giving you their credit card. If you have no idea what this number is, it's probably like 10%, right? Because you haven't done any sales calls, you don't have any at bats, you don't have any practice. If you've been doing this for a while, it's probably like 25 or so percent. And if you're a killer, maybe it's higher than that, 60 or 70. But if you don't know, just put in 10%. If you feel like you have a pretty decent idea, you can put 25%. So just type 4 in the comments once you have these 4 cells filled in, because it should then give us some targets and some KPIs to shoot for. Once you've got the 4 cells filled in, type 4 in the comments. Angel says between 1,000 and 3,000.
Yep. And by the way, if you're starting out, it's almost smarter to charge a bit more than usual because you can outsource and get an expert in the client relationship versus if you're starting out and you're only charging 500, but it costs 5, 600 to fulfill the actual project, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So that's one of the big lessons I learned from my mentor in my dental agency days is I charged over 3,000 out the gate, but that allowed me to go get an expert, like 2 or 3 experts, and just pay them all the money I made until I built my case studies, and then I started building up a margin. So early stages, it's smarter to charge a bit more because you have room to outsource.
100%. All right. So when you got those phone numbers in, it's going to tell you how many clients you need. So in this case, if you're going from 0 to 35,000 a monthly recurring at $1,500 per month and a 25% close ratio, you need 24 clients by the end of the year. You got 12 months left, basically assuming you're going to hit the ground running here in January. That means you would need 2 clients per month, and you at a 25% close ratio, you need about 8 strategy sessions every single month. And that would be the KPI that you're shooting for. Gene says, "For love this cool data. Love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And
Can't
by the
get the
way,
link."
you're making the assumption that you're keeping all your clients.
Yeah, that's net. So that's important. Yes. In the sales retention tracking sheet, you're going to have to account for some level of churn. That's what we're going to talk about next. But this would be net new clients that you have to get every single month. And again, this isn't going to be an exact science. It's going to give you a target to shoot for. It's going to give you something to, all right, this is about what I need to be shooting for. This is about where I need to go. All right. So ideally, you've got those numbers. I'm going to use a different example. Let's just say you were at 25,000 right now in monthly recurring. The goal is to get to 83,000, which would put you at 7 figures. Your average is 1,750. You've got a 30% close ratio. In this case, you need 34 clients. You got 12 months. You need 3 clients per month, and you need 10 strategy sessions per month. That's what you're going to build your plan around, is actually how many strategy sessions do we need? And then what are we going to do to market ourselves in terms of our cold outreach, in terms of our Facebook ads, in terms of content generation? That's what we're going to do on day 3. We're going to build that plan to arrive at that number of strategy sessions on a monthly basis. Hopefully this is clear. It should be clear. If you're following along and you're doing this, let me know for you how many strategy sessions you need per month to bring this into reality. Hopefully, like, this is going to be like super clear for everybody, and you're making a copy. If you've got questions afterwards, feel free to personal message me, and I'll try and help guide you and make sure you've got access to everything and you can build this out. Okay. Cool. So now we've got a big picture idea where we want to go, what we want to accomplish. So Brittany needs 70 strategy sessions. Catherine needs 14. Gene needs 25. Charlie needs 20. John 14. Fantastic. And usually what I'm seeing, assuming you're charging, $1,500 or so or more, you're probably going to need like 15 to 20 strategy sessions a month, right? That's usually the range. Even if you're selling SaaS and maybe you're doing like some type of online sales process, you need enough people coming through your demo process to hit those targets, right? So just be clear, like, you're going to need some activity from a marketing perspective in order to bring this into reality. Now, just note there's also a little video here. So if you're watching this after the fact or you got stuck, you can watch the video and it shows you how to set this up and how to plot it out. So now we've got the big picture. How many clients, how much recurring revenue we want to have by the end of the year. The next thing I want to do is like plot this on a sheet. And so if you go to the next tab here, it says starting point and quarterly targets. What we're going to do is we're going to put in that initial number. And so the cells that are here, these are the ones we're going to actually have to fill in manually. So using the example in the previous, you're going to go up here, monthly recurring revenue, starting at 25,000. And let's just say I've got 25 clients, right? Because I'm charging $1,000 per month right now. That's what you're going to enter. Like you're going to physically enter those two cells. How much is your starting point in terms of clients and in terms of recurring revenue? And then what's your monthly fee? And you can put in here $1,750. Let's just say that's what your monthly fee is. Put your actual number there. And then what's your average client loss? And so theoretically, if you get a client at $1,750 and they cancel, you lose $1,750, right? If you use high level, the way that we suggest you use high level, ideally they sign up at $1,750, but if they cancel, they still want the marketing automation. They still want all of the things that high level provides, and they're going to drop down and at least pay you $250 or $300 a month to retain the system, right? And so if you're losing everything, you put it there, ideally set high level up so that you retain that revenue even when they cancel. And so when you lose a client, let's say you drop to $1,500 that you've lost, you retain at least $250 of that revenue.
Yeah. Josh, do you mind zooming that in real quick? And also,
Yes.
the point that you just made is really important. So, a lot of seasoned agencies do what Josh is recommending, and I know that's what they do at down in Florida is they'll have a client and they're like 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. And if the client, for whatever reason, needs to pause marketing campaigns or just move away from the agency altogether, you're able to park them into a downsell, right? So you have the main offer and you go them into the downsell. And you also see agencies use SaaS as a foot in the door offer, maybe something like, hey, let me just get reputation management going, get you some reviews. Or maybe now you're seeing AI employee chat widgets being turned on left and right for $200 a month, and that's the foot in the door. And then you upsell them to that 1750. Just be aware of whatever model that you're focused on. So that way you can calculate upsell your expansion revenue versus your loss revenue, right? Those are two different things that are happening at the same time. Josh, can you just share some things that you've learned from seasoned veterans like yourself? Like, what are some of the other models that you've seen with high level S being part of the offer?
Yeah. So typically you're going to use high level on the front end with clients as a differentiator, right? Because a lot of people today are selling website SEO, pay-per-click, maybe some email marketing. But if you can say, look, not only are we going to generate the leads for you with our marketing strategy, we're going to put this marketing automation on the back end to follow up the leads that you generate, to nurture one-time customers into repeat customers, to track the outcomes that we provide for you. It becomes part of your program, it becomes part of
It's like
your
a
offer that
housing.
makes you
Yeah.
extremely sticky. And then when the client does say, hey, look, I need to cancel, not a problem. Hey, look, we've already set up this call tracking for you. We've already got this marketing follow-up. We've already got this chat on your website, this missed call text back. I think you're going to still want that. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? And most of the time, if you set it up correctly, you've got them to engage with the system even a little bit. They're like, yeah, we're going to switch the website provider and maybe the SEO provider, but we want to keep that in place. And what's great is instead of dropping your revenue to zero, now you're retaining super highly profitable SaaS revenue. Which is wonderful, right? And so that's the whole idea.
Awesome. So 25 grand is what we're thinking on monthly recurring revenue. Average monthly fees at 1750.
Yep.
Average client loss values at 1500. Can you explain the 1500 one more time?
Yep. Okay. So again, we're here in the starting point in January. The 1500 would be when a client leaves, how much revenue do you lose? So if you don't have SaaS and you're not like consistently getting people to say, hey, look, I'll stay with that maintenance plan, then it would be 1750, right? The money all goes away. But in this case, if you've got that in place, let's just say it drops to 1500. So you have a little bit of retained revenue, I think is really all we're looking for there in terms of how we're tracking it. So just give me a yes in the comments if you've got this top box filled in. I know there's a lot of moving parts here. Again, you can watch this on the replay. You've got like the step-by-step video. But the next thing I want you to do is go down to the tab down here where it says Sales Tracking 2025. And so this is where the rubber meets the road, right? This is where you can actually start to plot out that year, plot it out by quarter, plot it out by month. And if you did this right, you've got it automatically saying what's your current basis. You got however many clients you typed in here carries over to this first tab. And then there's a couple of things going on this sheet. You've got the goal for each month, the actual, and the delta. So since people often ask, like, what does that mean? So the goal is going to be, what's your target? How many clients do you expect to sell? How many clients do you expect to churn? That's your goal, right? You're going to physically enter 2 columns there. The actual is going to be tracked on a monthly basis. Have you hit that goal or not? How much have you actually sold? And then the delta is the difference between what the goal is and where you are for that particular month, right? So goal, actual, and delta. So what I want you to do is when you plugged in your goal setting here, ideally you came up with a target of how many clients you need to sell per month to get to the target that you set. What I want you to do is go in to just that first column under goal across the board here, January, February, March, April, May, and put in a number. Is it 1 client? Is it 3 clients? Is it 7 clients? This will help you plot out the year. So in my particular agency, Plumbing and HVAC SEO, we grew to 7 figures in 2 years. We now do about $7 million per year. We only land between 4 and 6 clients every month. So about 5 clients a month on average. But over time, really starts to grow, really starts to expand. So we do have other people in the program that are selling 20 plus clients per month. People like Brady Sticker and Chris Rodriguez, they got a lower ticket, right? But so you should be able to set a goal that makes sense based on this goal setting sheet. Don't put in 20 clients a month if you've never sold a client, right? Don't put 5 clients if you've never sold a client. Choose a target that's realistic and tangible to get you to where you want to go. So that's what I want you to do. I'll give you a quick sec. Hopefully you're working on this as I speak. You're going to January. Let's just say 3 clients in January, 3 clients in February. And then, I think I'm going to get my marketing ramped up. And so I'm going to go to 4 in March. And then April, I'm going to go to 5. And then I'm going to shoot for 5 every month thereafter, right? Whatever the number is for you. Could be an even 5 every single month. Could be higher, whatever it is. So we're just going into that top column and we're putting in how many clients per month. And as you type that in, basically it's going to take that number times your average monthly fee and show you what the goal is. So I'm going to get 3 clients at $5,200 a month for the first 2 months. And I'm going to get 4 clients to get me to $7K by that next month. It's going to expound. It's going to accumulate.
Just so I understand correctly, on the delta on column F there, would that be -3 because you might have lost 3 clients, or is that the way you're looking at it,
No,
or what is?
so it's going to be like, we'll get to it in a second, but basically you're going to put in the sales as they happen.
Yeah.
And the delta is the difference between your goal was 3 and so far you've sold 0. Right. So that's
got
why
it. Got it. So when
let's
you
say
do
I sell a client 1 right now for 1,500. Now it's going to say you've got 1 client for 1,500. You're off by 2. You need 2 more clients this month to hit your target.
Gotcha. So it's changing as you close more clients.
Exactly. Yep. At the end of each month, at the end of each
Very
quarter,
cool.
you got this accountability mechanism to track your activity.
Yeah. All
right. So type goal in the comment once you've got the goal in. Gene says, this is great. Fantastic. I appreciate that feedback. This is actually the exact mechanism I use at Plumbing and HVAC SEO from year 1. And now hundreds of agencies use this. Again, and Paulson and the team asked me to share this with you guys. So hopefully you're getting it. Hopefully you're wrapping your head around it. There's power in writing a goal down. There's more power in breaking it down by month and quarter. And there's more power in actually having a plan and a tracking mechanism. That's what this is. It's going to be your tracking mechanism to track against the goals that you've set. All right, cool. So we've got the goal in. The next thing is churn, right? And this is the side of the business nobody wants to think about. And hopefully we land 5 clients. We never lose a client. But in the best of cases, you're going to have churn, right? No matter how good you are, no matter how great your platform is. And so I would put in there, if you've got no clients, just put a 1 across the board. If you're more established, let's say you've got 10, 15, 30 clients, if you're tracking this, you can put that churn. Like it's usually going to be like between 5 and 10%, what I see. The gold standard, what we shoot for in our agency and the agencies at seven-figure agency, is no more than a 3% churn. Right? So you've got a great process, you've got a great system, you've got an annual contract. We'll talk about retention strategies, but ideally you can get at least 97% of your clients to stick with you month over month. So I do want you not to, set your only sales goal and have no churn anticipation. So you would go in here and so just as an example, let's just say you've got 30 clients right now. Use a 0.05 churn anticipation. Then you put like 1 to 2 clients lost every single month, right? So that's what you're doing here. I don't want to belabor this point because I know we've got a spectrum of people that are experienced and people that are just getting started, and churn really isn't that big of a factor. But there's nothing more depressing than hitting all your sales targets and being way off at the end of the year because you didn't realize there's going to be churn. I know you brought this up, Paulson. So anything you want to add on this churn anticipation here?
Well, I think in the beginning stages, you're just going to have churn because it's brand new for you
Yep.
and the industry is new, the offer is new. Maybe your team is, often it's a new experience for them and fulfilling. So so don't be afraid of churn in the beginning stages. In the beginning, like the focus is getting really good at sales, right? And then you get really good at fulfillment. It's a
Yep.
chronological order
Yeah.
typically in how it happens because, don't get discouraged by it. It's just part of the learning process and the building block. Now, if you've been doing this for 10 years and you still have a lot of high churn, now we've got an operational problem
Yeah.
somewhere. Either you're over promising or you're over customizing. I was at a mastermind in Tennessee, and the two gentlemen I talked to, they're doing like 2.5 million a year in their agencies, but they're having to do a ton of sales. Like their extreme pressure of the business is on the sales side. And that didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, if you're already at 2.5, your sales is not the biggest problem. It's retention is the biggest problem because you've already figured out sales to get to those numbers. You're having a hard time keeping clients. So don't worry about solving tomorrow's problems too
Mhm.
early if you're in the
Yeah.
beginning stages. Just focus on getting the demos strategized and closing deals, setting appointments, closing deals, setting appointments. Nothing else matters.
Yeah. Good point there. Matt was mentioning, Matthew Wilson, that it's not, the churn doesn't change. So this is going to be a retroactive, thing that this is just a number that you're setting as a target. And maybe if you're at 10%, you set it to 5, right? But what you're going to do is you're going to manually put in how many clients you anticipate losing. And then as you lose them, it will actually show you what your retention rate is on a month by month basis automatically. So I'll show you that in a minute. But let's just say, I've got 100 clients right now and I'm losing 5 clients every single month. That would be the number that you put in. Let's just put in here, 1 client. And so that's what I want you guys to do is go across here, not the number of revenue, but just how many clients do you anticipate losing every month? And this is going to be the not to exceed, 1 client a month or 3 clients a month. And, it's going to go up as your base grows. So I'm just going to change this to 2, as we get halfway through the year. I mean, obviously the goal would be to churn 0, but unfortunately you're going to have some churn. Right? It's par for the course, no matter how good you are. So you're just putting that number is that way you're not blindsided at the end of the year. Type churn into the comments once you've entered this number in, because that's going to be the last piece of the puzzle. If you want to set it to 0, that's fine, but it's probably going to be more like however many clients you have times 5 to 10%. Matt Wilson, let me know if that makes sense or if that answered the question for you. Hopefully it did. All right. Charles got it in. A bunch of you guys have this in. You guys are doing, I know this is tedious work looking at me walk you through a spreadsheet, but you're going to have a powerful asset that you can work from going forward. And so if you scroll down now on your sheet, you've got 2025, you got each of the months, you wrote in how many sales you're shooting for each month, how many clients you're anticipating churn each month. If you scroll down to annual, it's going to show you based on what you just put in. Here's how many clients we expect to sell throughout the course of the year. Here's how many clients we expect to lose throughout the course of the year. Here's how many clients we'll end up with at the end. Here's what our monthly recurring revenue will be. And here's what our total cumulative revenue should be and what our net growth in terms of MRR is throughout the course of the year. That's the big picture, right? Now you can look at your entire year and see where you want to go. And if this doesn't get you there and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm at 96. I wanted to get to 120. Then you got to go in and either increase your sales target or reduce your churn target, or maybe increase the average monthly fee. There's a lot of things we can play with to figure out what that is. But having the goal and then having it broken down like this, there's power in the process. Now, the next thing is tracking against it, right? So now that we've got the goal, it's useful, right? But the real power is at the end of each month, at the end of each sale, actually writing these clients in. Here's who we sold. Here's who we lost. Are we on track? Or are we off track? And then adjusting your marketing strategy every month to increase the strategy session count to make sure that you get the client flow that you need. And at some point in the agency, it might be we're not selling enough clients, so we need more strategy sessions. But at some point, it's like, man, we hit all our sales targets, but we're losing too many clients. I expected two clients to cancel, we lost 5. And that's when we have to go back and re-engineer our retention strategy and what we're doing to keep the clients happy and the experience that we're building. So to make it clear what it exactly is that we need to do in this sheet every month, you would come in here and let's just say, end of January, we landed plumbing 1, and then we landed plumbing 2, and then we landed plumbing 3. You actually put the company name, right? Bob's Plumbing, Bill Jones Plumbing, etc. And this one signed up for $2,500, and this one signed up for $1,750, and this one signed up for $3,000, right? That's now going to show you at that point in the month, we sold 3, but we actually exceeded our sales target. Now, at the same time, let's say we lost a client. We lost plumbing 6, and they were $1,500 a month. This is going to now roll up. And every month you'll be able to see, okay, this month we sold 3, we lost 1. We had a 3.7% return ratio. That's higher than we were expecting. But because we had a higher sales volume, now we're on track, right? We can see we exceeded our growth by $2,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And our base has grown. So hopefully that makes sense. Just give me a yes in the comments if you're able to track along with that. Again, you have my permission to personal message me if for some reason you're stuck or like this didn't make sense to you or you couldn't get the sheet to work the way that I've just explained it. But just give me a tracking in the comments if this is clear and you feel like you've got the framework here to really track your progress against the goal for the year.
Is this helpful, you guys? Like this is the main reason why I asked Josh to come in and do a session because I know he is really good at teaching this stuff and he coaches hundreds and hundreds of people on planning their year out. And I saw this training that he did a few weeks back, I think right after Christmas. I feel like you were doing this training in your community. I was like, man, we've got to have Josh coming in here teaching this. And he charges a lot of investment to be part of his community. He's doing this all for free because he just loves our community so much and we have a great relationship. So hopefully this is helpful and you're not taking it for granted. I really, hope that you are doing the work as we kind of go click by click here.
For sure. Yeah, man, Paulson, I appreciate that. I appreciate all the comments. I see a lot of people saying, yes, helpful, very useful, awesome, fantastic. So step 1, we wanted to get our goals. We wanted to plot them out for the year, and then we wanted to break them down by month and break them down by quarter. So if you look at the second tab, starting point and quarterly targets, you now have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, right? You've got your goals now broken down by quarter, and it's going to show you the actuals over here on the right. This process is only going to be good as your willingness to engage in it, right? And so just give me a yes. Sometimes, how do they say it? You don't appreciate what you didn't have to pay for, right? And so hopefully, like Paulson said, you appreciate this, but you're only going to get the value out of it if you use it. So type yes if you'll update this on a monthly basis. Because like I said, a goal is only so powerful. It's the check-in process. It's the personal accountability to say, oh man, we wanted to get to 5 clients, but we only got 4. That's okay. Let's hit the ground running again next month. Let's try and get 6 so we can catch up, so we can get back on track. I'm seeing a lot of yeses, so that's encouraging. I appreciate that. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so we updated the sales retention tracking sheet. You've got that locked and loaded. this should be the baseline that you build from. I want you to come back to page 6 in your workbook, and just take what your sales retention track is telling you. Here's where I'm at right now. Here's where I'm going to be by the end of the year. Here's how many clients I'm going to have. I want you to put that in your workbook on page 6. So in page 6 on your workbook, you've got this little cell right here. Here's where I'm starting. Here's where I'm ending. Right? Just the more clear you can make your mind and your subconscious mind, call your shot, have it written down, have it in a place you can easily reference back, eventually print this out, put it front and center for yourself. You're going to be much more likely to get the target, to get the outcome that you're after. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So I want everyone, just for those of you that did track along with me, put in the comments, what's your goal for the end of the year? And it should be a monthly recurring number. Could be 500,000, could be 10,000, could be 30,000. What's your monthly recurring revenue target between now and the end of the year? Put that into the chat for me. There's a little bit of a lag typically, so I'll give you guys a second. All right, Charles, 93,000, love it. Josh, 45,000, fantastic. Ann, 35K. Patrick, 84K. Brenda, 50, love it. Keep them coming. Sabrina, 66,000 monthly recurring. Keep them coming. Gene, 38. Andrew, 99K. It'll put you over 7 figures. Love it. Dennis, 15K. Alex, 13K. Fantastic. Awesome. So we've got the goal. We've written it down on the sheet. We've tracked it down by month. The next thing I want you guys to do is get really clear in your mind on why achieving this goal is important. Because it's one thing to write a number, and a number is just a number, right? It's not going to inspire you. It's not going to give you motivation or drive. And so I want you to get really clear, and this is in your workbook on that same page here, page 6. I want you to write a paragraph about how your life will be different and better once you're at that level, right? What will you be able to do, have, or experience as a result, right? Get really clear on your why, because that's what's going to drive you to take the action. Could be you're going to be able to buy a nice car. Could be you get to retire your spouse. Could be you get to put your kids in a better school. Could be you get to take your kids in-house, right? It could be whatever it is for you, write it down. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds here of quiet contemplation and do this work.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about this exercise is it seems so simple, kind of boring almost, right? But for the folks that, that's been around the block for a while, I used to work for a guy in Vancouver, and this is before I started my agency. I was like the funnel builder for him and all kinds of stuff. And he was doing almost like, 120 or 130,000 a month. He came home one day and long story short, went and bought a big old Mercedes-Benz truck and brought it home, and his spouse was extremely unhappy, and kids didn't care for it. No one even checked out the truck, and it hit him like a brick wall at that point that he's been, in the trenches so long that he forgot the actual reason of why he built the business, right? Which is creating time and freedom with his kids and family. And sometimes none of us get there overnight. We get there little by little, and you look up and you're like, oh man, I'm in the trenches so long. I'm answering client calls at 10 p.m. and I'm just neglecting the most important people around my life. And the exercise that you're doing here is to give you that picture, the big picture of why you're doing something the right way. And it starts with this planning, right? So this is one of the most important things, as crazy and simple as it sounds. This is what builds the actual business, is you having a vision for who you are, because the problem is the entrepreneur, it's not the business model. It's how you navigate through the business, the actual business and creating it.
Absolutely. Powerful stuff. Let us know in the comments. Just copy what it is for you. Could be one sentence, right? And I think the clearer you are and the higher your commitment to actually accomplishing it, the more likely you're going to get there. I'll stop sharing and we'll come back to this in a second. But, Tony Robbins' success formula is basically, first of all, you got to get clear on what you want, right? and you guys just did this. You said, here's where I want my agency to go. Here's where I want to be. The next thing you have to do is get clear and passionate about why you want it, right? And you got to amp that passion to a 10 out of 10. Because if you just passively put on a spreadsheet somewhere, I want to grow to $50,000 a month like a lot of you just did. And it's kind of like, how serious are you? How passionate are you about making that a reality? And it's like, well, it's like probably a 5 out of 6. Game over, right? Delete the spreadsheet, move on with your life. You've got to, whatever it takes, amp your energy level, your commitment to a 10, right? When you're at a 10, that's where I want to go. Here's why I want to get there. Here's why my life will be different and better. And here I'm 100% committed. Let me know in the comments, how committed are you to bringing this goal into reality? Give me the number between 1 and 10. This is really important, right? Because we got to know what we want. We got to know why we want it. We got to increase the passion for actually getting it. How committed are you? Sam's giving it a 10. Love it. Zen Atlas a 10. Success Shazim 10. Benjamin 11. I love that. Charles Nickelback is a 10. They're going to get to a very nice number. Sabrina 10. John 10. And 10. Okay, good. That's what I want to hear. Lots of 10s, right? Because that's what it's going to take. Now, know what you want. Know why you want it. Increase your passion to a 10 out of 10 to get there. Number 4 is you have to take massive action, right? Because writing a goal down, sitting in Zen state, doing the client attraction method, nothing's going to happen. You have to take massive action, right? And that's what we're going to be getting into tomorrow. We're going to help you build that model. We're going to help you build that action plan. But now we've got the goal. We know why we want the goal. We know why we're passionate about getting there. Now we're going to have to take massive action. And as you take massive action, you have to keep trying until you get there. And there's an important process called the feedback loop. And so that feedback loop is, I set a goal, right? I built a plan. I took massive action, whether it was making calls or running Facebook ads or sitting in BNI meetings or going to Chamber of Commerce events, trying to fill a schedule. You have to look at the feedback loop. And that's where your sales retention tracking sheet keeps you honest, right? It's like, hey, look, I set a goal and either I'm on target or if I'm off target. And if I'm off target, I have to then self-reflect and say, okay, what did I not do? What was wrong with my plan? What was wrong with my execution that prevented me from getting the outcome? And adjust, right? You can't just operate in a vacuum. You're going to have to innovate. You're going to have to take massive action. You're going to have to figure out for your niche, what is it that's going to resonate? For your clients, what is it that's going to retain? For your team, what is it that's going to inspire? But when you do that on a consistent basis and you continue to take massive action, you continue to make those adjustments and you keep pressing forward, getting to 7 figures or multiple 7 figures becomes an eventuality. It becomes something that absolutely will happen, but it takes that action. So just type action in the comments if you're committed to, I've got now a goal. I know I'm going to build a plan, but I'm going to have to take massive action to bring this into reality. Action, action, action. Awesome. Let me share my screen again. Paulson, how are we doing on time? I know we got 2 hours blocked.
We're good.
30 minutes.
Yeah, we're good. Take as long as you need.
Okay. Yeah. Next thing I'd like you guys to do, and I'm going to make this homework, so we're not going to do this necessarily right now, but would be to do a vision exercise. And you've done something powerful, which is you've written the goal down, and you've just committed that you're going to get it done, and you've committed to a 10 out of 10. The next thing would be to actually record a video of yourself. And you can do this with Loom, or you can do it with your phone. And this would be a video to your future self. This is going to be a video you will watch in December of 2025 at the end of the year, but you're going to say the words, you're going to speak it into existence, you're going to speak it out in advance. And so what I want you to do is just get clear in your mind. All right, wow, it's been an amazing 2025. I'm so grateful because the agency is now doing whatever number, where we're doing $60,000 a month, whatever number you just wrote down. We serve, however many clients, 75 clients, and my life is different and better because I can now buy that car, take that travel, do that thing, whatever it is that you wrote down. This will anchor in what you just put on digital and make it real, because you're going to have to speak the words and you're going to play it. Ideally, play it to yourself a couple times throughout the year to keep yourself engaged, to keep yourself inspired. Type video in the comments if you'll record your video. This is an important step in the process. easy to say, oh, I'll do that eventually. But I want you, as soon as we're done, to record that video, because that's going to be the final exercise before we go into actual building the plan when we get together tomorrow and the next day. Type video if you'll do that exercise. Beautiful. Do it. It's fun. It'll be fun to look back on it once you've accomplished the goal at the end of the year. So I added a section in here for you guys, just as another piece of the puzzle. If you think about your life and you think about your business, our businesses exist to serve our personal lives, right? So building the business in a vacuum isn't really where it's at, right? We said we want to have an impact and we want to have freedom. And so I'd love for you just to come up with a couple of key goals in the business, in personal, in financial. Could be, outside of just your business goal of getting to 50,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Are there any other big goals you want to accomplish? Maybe hire an account manager, maybe hire an operations director, maybe publish a book, maybe speak at a big industry event or conference. Just a couple of those. Personal goals, right? I know you probably do this, but it's nice to have it combined here in one sheet. What are some of the personal business goals? Personal goals. Maybe it's to get to a certain weight. Like me personally this year, my goal was to get to 170, and I got to 170. I didn't get my body fat percentage goal, but I still made progress on that front. I did a lot of things personally that I wanted to accomplish. And then financial goals, right? Maybe it's a certain net worth amount. Maybe it's a certain amount of savings. Maybe it's a certain passive income that's coming in. I'd love for you just to spend a couple of minutes. We're thinking about 2025 and your growth plan. This is an integrated life plan as well. Anything you want to add while they're filling this part in, Paulson?
Nothing too much. I mean, I think when you set goals, make sure, I think they call it SMART goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specific,
Yeah.
measurable, actionable. I can't remember what R stands for in T.
Achievable and
Yeah,
results oriented.
exactly. So it's one thing to be like, okay, I'm at 0 clients, but February I want to hit 100 grand a month. Like that's just not realistic because the person you have to become to get to $10,000 a month in recurring revenue versus 25 grand a month versus 100,000 a month. Those are three different versions of Paulson Thomas and Josh Nelson. I'm telling you, you talk a certain way, you act a certain way, you wake up at a certain time, you close business off at a certain time, you have a certain diet, you have a spiritual compass. Like you're different from these three different milestones. Like I mean, you change as your business grows. So like it's important that you set goals that are realistic and measurable and just be ready for that empowerment and that maturity that it takes because you have to step into that person that can earn 100 grand a month or 10,000 a month or maybe it's first time ever. Maybe it's your first 1,000 a month. And so the person that you have to become, even as an entrepreneur, is different than a person that's doing 9 to 5 as the main thing, right? There are changes that you will experience, and those are things that you want to watch out for. And then remember, halfway through the year, you could reevaluate these goals and maybe get a bit more aggressive than what you originally set. Or maybe tame it down a little bit because maybe you were too aggressive in the beginning stages in January, right? So be able to, change as you go. I think that's the biggest advice I can provide. Oh, you kind of muted yourself there, Josh. Sorry.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
you good?
So we've set the goals, we've set the targets, we've put it onto the Google Doc. One of the numbers that we reverse engineered earlier was the number of strategy sessions you need on a monthly basis to bring that goal into reality. And I want you guys to write that down because as we start shifting to the planning process over the next couple of days, that's going to be the main thing we want to organize around. How many strategy sessions are you going to need each month to make that a reality? Go ahead and put it into your workbook there on page 8, and then also put it in the chat for me. We all put in how many clients we're going to have or what our MRR is in the chat. Let me know now how many strategy sessions, because now we're going to start to get tactical and practical. And it's great to have a big goal, but a goal without a plan is just a dream, right? So we're going to get into actually building the plan over the next couple of days. But I want that number. How many strategy sessions will you track towards every single month to bring that into reality? Jeremy Wood says 15.
Yeah, that means you can break it down at a weekly level. right? Or
Mhm.
even a weekend.
Yeah. All right. So Dory says 20. Angie says 8. Jake must have a super high close ratio, which is great. 4 or high ticket. That's awesome. Success Shazim says 18. Awesome. Know that number, right? We're gonna spend a lot of time on that number. Okay. The next thing is how you're going to track, right? Again, what you measure gets done and always improves. And so we got to make sure we're tracking this. And so I've given you guys the sales and retention tracking sheet. You all committed. We're going to update that every month, maybe even after every sale or after every client churn. As I look at the members in seven-figure agency that have gone to seven figures, that have gone to multiple seven figures, they use this process every month and they're religious with it because they know what you measure gets done. So we want to track that. The next thing is I'm going to encourage you to track your strategy sessions, right? So if the number was 40 for Sam or 8 for Annette, put a mechanism in place where you track how many people scheduled in your high level calendar and then how many of them you actually met with and what your close ratio is. What's beautiful is we can build this into the high level dashboard, right? You should be using high level for your appointment process. Somebody schedules in and you should be creating opportunities that are either set to won or lost. We'll get into this over the next couple of days because I think tracking that and having it set up properly is super important. But make sure you're tracking those numbers. Make sure you know front and center, I need 9 strategy sessions and either I conducted them or I didn't. And ideally, we're looking for 15% or more, and we want to dial in the sales process to get to 30% close ratio or higher. And you might be starting at 10, you might be moving to 15, but ideally, when you've got your niche, you've got a great program, you've positioned yourself as an expert. We're talking about all of this over the next couple of days. We want to get to tracking over 30% conversion from sales opportunity to sale. So just type track in the comments if you're committed to track these mechanisms, right? Actually track the things that are going to move you forward and move you towards the accomplishment of the goal. All right. In your Google Doc there, I shared a digital KPI board. A printable KPI board. I think I love having dashboards. I love having spreadsheets. But when you got it printed out or you put it on a laminated sheet, and that's what I would recommend, take this at the beginning of every single month, write the target. I want to sell whatever the number is, 5 clients and 10,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and then track it by week. How many strategy sessions did I have? How many proposals did I submit? Or how many of those conversations did I have? How many clients did I actually sell? And how much revenue did I really sell? When you have it front and center in addition to having it on a computer somewhere, it makes it real. And I promise you, it's a silly thing. Print that out on paper, put it on a little cork board in front of you, force yourself to write these numbers in. Magic will happen, right? And so this is a resource I wanted to share with you guys, just so you've got it. You can print it. You can put it on a laminated board. And then tomorrow when we get together, we're going to get into the planning process. A couple other things I wanted to share, kind of as we come to conclusion here on today's, and we're going to open up for Q&A. Are you able to see this at all?
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay. So I mentioned I was going to share examples of this. And so Brian Kaskavalcian is a great example of this. Brian Kaskavalcian runs G4 Marketing Group, the wealthy contractor. The first time I went through this annual planning process with somebody other than myself was with Brian. He was running an agency at $60,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And he had been there for quite some time. 60K for some of us is amazing. Oh man, that's fantastic. But he had gotten comfortable. He'd been like, you know what, this is a good life. It's a good business. But he was stagnated. And I was like, why is it that your agency doesn't continue to grow? Why aren't you going to the next level? What's the goal? What's the target? And he was like, you know what? I don't know. I said, let's sit down. Let's put it onto a spreadsheet. Let's build the plan and let's put this into play. And Brian then plotted the sales retention tracking sheet. He broke it down by month. He broke it down like quarter, just like you guys just did. And it was an organizing thing for him and his team, as opposed to just going wherever. Every month, they know this is what we're shooting for, and they would meet in their team meeting and say, hey, look, the goal is this, and we either hit it or we didn't. But it was a catalyst for growth within his business. He quickly grew to over $370,000 in monthly recurring over the next couple of years. Recently sold for a multiple 7-figure exit to the large venture capital industry person in his industry. If you talk to Brian, he will say this was the shift. And so hopefully you guys all use this as your shift. We've got the goal, we've got the target, we've got it written down. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build plan. We figured out how many strategy sessions we need. We figured out how we're going to track that stuff. You've got the workbook, right? There's additional exercises I want you to get into, I want you to do. But what we did today, the main thing we wanted to do on day one, I hope that we delivered on this and say, yes, if we did. We set goals and targets for the year. We broke them down by quarter and month. We set KPI, which is how many strategy sessions we need to make that a reality. And we audited the business model. We looked at your model today versus the seven-figure agency model and what's working best. Massive power in this process. Kudos to each of you that stuck with us, that did the exercises, that had your participant hat on. You've now got this done. What we're going to be doing tomorrow is we're going to go through the seven-figure agency model in depth, and we're going to talk about program packaging. We talked about this briefly, but I want to make sure you know exactly how to package your program, how to get that fee up on a higher level to get it done at a world-class level to improve your retention. And we're going to talk about how to sell. This was something that John and the team at High Level said, like, if we're going to sell $1,500, $2,500 programs, what does the sales process look like? What do the conversations look like? And give us sales training so that you've got, I know I need 15 strategy sessions, but how do I conduct those strategy sessions? That's what we're going to do tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we're going to get into building the sales and marketing plan to get the strategy sessions. How does that sound, Paulson?
Sounds fantastic. I think, this is exciting. If this is what it takes to launch an agency and scale an agency at the end of it all, regardless of where you are in your journey. Maybe you just started off brand new entrepreneur, or maybe you're already doing, six figures a month and you're trying to figure out how to get to the next level and you're seeing some blockage and some threshold differences. But either way, stay patient. Tomorrow is going to be very, very powerful. We're going to basically talk about offers at the end of the day. What kind of
Yep.
offers make sense for you as a business? Is it worth fulfilling? Is it worth scaling around? Does it take a lot of pressure, just human capital and talent, just to deliver something? Or do we automate some of these things to kind of take pressure off of, like, well, there's gonna be something for everybody tomorrow for sure. Josh, if you want to, we can spend maybe 10 minutes doing a Q&A. For those of you that have questions, go ahead and put the questions down in the comments. And I'm going to pick out maybe 5 questions. So we take 2 minutes each to answer 5 questions and spend 10 minutes. So those of you that have really, really big questions and you just can't get your mind off of it, put those down and I'll read out some questions here. Let me go ahead and pull out my phone. It's a lot easier. I don't know why on my using my
Mm.
phone to find comments, it just comes up a lot faster. Okay, so let's see. What are some questions that you have when it comes to goal setting? I want to make sure the question you're asking is around day one content, not how to log into high level, which I can appreciate, but I want you to focus on what we're talking about today. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna pick out the best questions that I'm seeing. I want to see the questions here. Okay. Monty. Monty's asking. We'll talk about this tomorrow, Monty. I see your question. Monty says, any thoughts on selling the SaaS service as a 6 to 12 month contract to reduce churn? And also, does anyone have a SaaS agreement that locks the client into a term? So, Josh, how did you decide on SaaS or not SaaS, or like how did you come up? We'll talk about this tomorrow in detail, obviously. But
Yeah, so the way we structure it is like our program, we include the SaaS as a separate line item. This is included we refer to it as marketing automation. Obviously, we have the white level version of it. But we shifted from month to month to an annual agreement. And really just setting the expectation, look, if we're going to do all of this together, let's commit to give it a year, because this is going to take work and there's going to be lots of things that we have to invest in to get this off the ground. And if you're not willing to stay with it for a year, we're probably not a good fit anyways. That's just us personally. That's the way we've structured it. We found that it did massively improve our retention, just because if somebody's coming into a relationship thinking long term, they're more likely to stick around long term, versus if you sell it as a trial or you sell it as a month to month, they're probably thinking, like, you got to show me the value this month, otherwise I'm out, right? And we all know it's not as easy as flip a switch and they're like flooded with opportunity. There's a build up process to it.
I love that. Next question about niching down. Are you suggesting that one agency gets niched down into just one unique industry?
That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Yeah. So, as agencies, we can sell to anybody, right? We can sell to the roofer, the chiropractor, the dentist, anybody. Um, but what we found was when you focus on one particular industry, you can position yourself as the expert. You can develop expertise, which makes your marketing easier. But then you can also develop a program specific to that industry that generates better results, right? And you have the right to win. You have the right to deliver oversized results, and you can get better over time. You can also systematize your delivery because in our agency at first, we were generalist. So we were working with a roofer one day, a dentist the next day, a chiropractor the next. Well, that's hard work because I got to re-figure out what the keywords are. I got to re-figure out what the selling proposition is. I got to understand their service offering. And there was no way to systematize it. So we're like re-engineering for every client versus we started just selling to plumbers. We could figure out in advance, we're going to do this, 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 and this, and we know it's going to generate this result. We could build an SOP around it, put it into a project management system, build a team that could go and implement it, and we could deliver better results with less friction and less personal time invested. And so that's what I did at Plumbing and HVAC SEO. Like I said, there's 134 other agencies I've personally worked with that have gone to seven figures in one vertical, right? Painting companies, dojos, roofing companies, and everything in between.
I love that. And by the way, I'm picking out questions here that are as relevant as I can get to today's session, just so you know I'm not ignoring any of your questions. We'll come back and answer as many as we can. The third question is when starting out using GHL, where is the play-by-play on best practices? So if we are setting a goal on how to sell this, what is our on-ramp time? So like I guess for the stranger who doesn't know anything about high level, Josh, where do they get started? It's a big machine.
Yeah, I think the high level's got a ton of great training on understanding the service offerings, understanding how to set it up. And so I mean, if you're brand new and you're completely new to this, I would start there. We've got some great resources we can plug you into as well. But what we'll talk about tomorrow is just mapping in advance what that program looks like, right? And if it's a strict SaaS play, then figure out which modules you're going to turn on, which elements are you going to customize for the industry, and then put it onto a timeline. Like how long does it take? Who's going to do it? If it's you, then that's you. And what are the cost variables? Is that going to cost you zero? Is it going to cost you $10? Is it going to cost you $1,000? So that you can make sure there's a healthy profit margin so that as you do sell, you've actually got a business that you can scale from. Maybe not the exact answer you're looking for, but it starts with engineering in advance and then figuring out like how to plug into the resources you need to
Yeah.
get it done.
And if you go to our high level YouTube channel, there are hundreds and thousands of video training on how to set up high level the properly way. You can also always get on a Zoom call with any of us at high level and just spend an hour going through the whole thing yourself, completely live, all for free. And then in addition to that, we have a help desk. Chase Buckner and his team, they put together Legion playbooks, all kinds of courses that are completely free in the university. So if you go to university.gohighlevel.com, there's a ton of training there. So there's plenty of experts as well that you
Mm.
can just tap into. It doesn't even have to be, somebody at high level either. Let's see. Colin's asking, this is interesting. You mentioned the hybrid model. In the goal setting process, do you factor in goals for affiliate revenue as an agency?
I would think if that's going to be core to what you're selling, then you'd want to track that now kind of separately. In my mind, I would almost have like a separate tracking sheet for affiliate revenue, kind of that's more your passive income versus your agency revenue.
I love that. Okay, let's see. This is the second time I saw this question, so we'll end with this question, Josh. What are some services you would be giving that allows you to charge $2,000 a month? What does your
Mm,
offer look like? Again, tomorrow
yeah.
we're going to talk about the program and very specific things, but if you can give us a preview of some of these things for tomorrow, I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I think if you're going to charge $2,500 or $2,000 a month, you need to have enough value that it's justified. It also needs to be something that provides a tangible return on investment, right? It's like it's going to generate more than that in terms of revenue and profitability for the client that you serve. So for us, that might be setting up the website and making sure it's built to convert, doing search engine optimization and trying to get them ranked organically on the Google map, putting database reactivation in place, putting sell by chat, putting a chat widget on the website, putting automation in place so that when a lead inquires, they're automatically getting added to a drip sequence. Even if that was all you did, that justifies a $2,000 price point if you do it well, right? So we'll talk about all of the different things you can add to your program to make it super juicy and to justify the value. But high-level components are critical to that delivery, right? Especially if you want to retain the clients long-term.
Yeah. In the olden days, what we used to do was send a bunch of leads to the client, slap on a Google sheet with a name, phone number, and email, and you're, praying, hopefully, that the client calls back. That world is gone. Like, we don't have to do that as an agency anymore. Now we can log into a dashboard and say, okay, client, I brought you, let's say, 25 leads this month that are all high ticket, and you called 10 of them, and then three answered. And by the time you got to one sale, it was like 2 weeks later. How do you expect for this program to work when that's the type of customer service you're providing, right? So you're allowing yourself to have enough data and go to the client and say, hey, here's an opportunity for growth. And that's really the attribution is where you can kind of plant your flag as an agency and say, okay, here's why it's working or here's why it's not working, which is really cool. We'll talk about these things tomorrow. Josh, any final thoughts on goal setting that you shared today as we close out?
No, I would just say, kudos to you guys for writing the goal, putting onto the sales tracking sheet, make sure you measure against it. But again, a goal without a plan is just a dream. So tomorrow and the next day are going to be mission critical to take that goal and break it into a plan and the key activities we're going to be doing to bring it into reality.
All right. Bye for now, everybody. You'll be able to watch replays in our YouTube channel and our landing pages for the replays and the resources, universities, everywhere. You'll see the replay. We'll see you tomorrow for day 2. We're going to talk about program exactly, as well as offers of what you should build for your agency as you go into 2025. Bye for now. Thanks, Josh.